Welcome to Embrace the Weight, Season 1, Episode 7. This week we're going to be talking about everything going on World's Ultimate Strongman and the 4 record attempts that are coming up within the next month and a half. Season 1, Episode 7. This week we're going to be talking about introduce themselves again? Going on World's Ultimate Strongman and the 4 record attempts that are coming up within the next month and a half.
I'm Cody.
This week we're everyone want to introduce themselves again? World's Ultimate Strongman and
there are 4 records
coming up within the next month and a half.
I'm Cody. Go ahead. Who's ever going to go next? Been here before.
Hey, I'm Marcus.
I'm Cody. Go ahead. Who's ever going to go next? Been here before.
Hey, I'm Marcus.
I'm good at right now.
Hey, I'm Marcus.
Yeah, grip training has been wholly unaffected by all of this.
Mostly, yeah. I'm good at right now.
$50 on this. Even up at some like higher, more professional levels, it seems like this is causing a big 50-50 kind of rift. Yeah, so I guess we'll start off with Thor's first because we got 4 to go over. Before anything else, I definitely can't wait to see it. I
would like to
starving
start
for some
off.
Content. Go for
I'd
it.
like to start off saying that World Ultimate Strongman is attempting to give strongman fans content and strongman athletes something to do.
Mhm.
And I think that in its nature is a good thing. All this other bullshit we'll talk about, and you know what? I'm actually kind of happy because strongman is the only sport that people are talking about right now. I had the World Ultimate Strongman mention that on Instagram. No other sport is even attempting to like actually have competitions except for like the UFC, and people are kind of laughing at them.
Oh no, the UFC got shut down by Disney.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Dana White got
what?
shut down.
Dana White.
Dana White was gonna buy Private Island. He did buy Private Island, and was gonna host UFC fights from it.
Back to what you're saying before we get into like the technicality of whether what records should be stored. I did a search on Google Trends yesterday, and powerlifting has always had more traffic than strongman, except for 2 occasions. And then yesterday was the 3rd occasion that strongman had more traffic than powerlifting. And this is the closest in history that strongman and bodybuilding have been together in traffic.
Oh, wow.
Oh, damn.
I mean, bodybuilding normally has about 4 times the traffic, and now it's only double.
Bodybuilding has always had a much, much larger following than strongman and generally more money. But
everybody wants to be a bodybuilder.
Yeah, bodybuilding.
The funny thing is, people think it's the easiest one, but it's actually the hardest one because diet for bodybuilding is so fucking insane.
Yeah, just do what we do. Just do a water cut for a week and go stand on stage.
I'm in open division. We don't.
Oh yeah.
We do a cheeseburger to go on stage.
That's open powerlifting too. There's no cuts. There's just the book.
And I think bodybuilding would have more traffic because most people associate anything with weights. If you're picking stuff up with bodybuilding, because it's the most, I guess, the most polarized version of.
Well, I think it's the most well-known gym sport or strength sport. If people think about like how people compete from a gym, bodybuilding is the only thing most people would think of because they don't know about powerlifting. Most people don't know about powerlifting at all, or the fact that strongman is a thing that you can do. I didn't know.
Yeah.
But everybody starts with bodybuilding basically. Even when I started with training, I started to go into bodybuilding, and I never even knew strongman existed until I met a few strongman athletes, and they pulled me into the sport.
Oh, I was gonna ask you. I've watched all the old world's strongest men. Have you ever met Garrett Badenhorst? Because he's from South Africa, right?
He is an amazing guy, actually. I've met him once before at a competition somewhere.
Yeah, he seemed like he'd be a really interesting guy.
Didn't really talk to him. Just met him. This is Garrett Badenhorst, and oh wow, cool, and moved on. And Gerard van Staden, who's still competing in strongman at the moment. He was at Worlds last year as well. He's actually the big guy for strongman in Africa. He's under the African Strongman Union, and he basically sanctions all of our competitions. So yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
And he's also an amazing guy, flipping strong.
So I have the numbers up in front of me right now. The current traffic for strongman has not changed since basically December, November, October. So we've taken 0 hit in overall views and traffic in general in the strongman community, where bodybuilding's gone down about 40% and powerlifting's gone down about like 55%.
So the funny thing is, a lot of strongmen have home gyms. That's one thing I've noticed pretty recently.
So that shows you there's no such thing as bad press. No matter how this goes, I feel like it will bring new eyes to the sport. So
it already is. Properly, I mean, it clearly already is. I mean, people who don't know what strongman is, are talking about it clearly. If it's in Google, if you've seen that in Google Trends, I mean, that's like a gold standard of what's actually going on in the world is Google Trends, as sad as that is.
Yeah, but it's relevant because it's getting big enough. It's reaching people it wouldn't normally.
Right now,
that's always cool.
For the yearly data, the only state that has more traffic for strongmen than powerlifting is Ohio.
Oh wow,
that's funny.
Ohio has
more. So strongman overall web traffic is higher in Ohio than powerlifting. Everywhere else, powerlifting in the United States is ahead.
Westside Barbell and Elite FTS, I think, is also in Ohio. Elite FTS might be in Texas.
And the Arnold Strongman Classic.
Well, yeah, but that's
but
actually
they still have the powerlifting as well. Yeah. But it's starting to. It looks like in the United States, if you look at the trends, it's starting to catch up. We will probably be not too distant future about a 50-50 split between powerlifting and strongman. With about double that in bodybuilding.
From interest that I've seen people have, because like a lot of people are interested in strongman because it looks fun. And you look strong doing it. Like, no matter what you're doing in strongman, you look strong doing it because you have to be pretty strong to do it.
Yeah, and that in the powerlifting, I feel like it's powerlifters watch powerlifting. I never watched powerlifting until I got into strongman. Yeah, I watched World's Strongest Man all the time when I didn't care about it.
As a fan of strength sports.
Yeah, and then once I got into strongman and strength sports, and then I started watching powerlifting. But I feel like a lot of people outside of strongman, it's much more fun to watch if you don't care about like strength sports and all that.
Do you know the very first place I saw Brian Shaw outside of the World's Strongest Man? On a Furious Pete video. And then yeah,
I don't think I ever saw that one.
Yeah, he actually did a video with Brian Shaw. It was a long time ago, like right after Brian Shaw won 3 world championships, right before he won his 4th. So 2014, 2015.
Yeah, it's quite some time back.
But yeah, but Furious Pete lifted some Atlas stones, and the lightest one Brian had was like 280.
Yeah, so the publicity's great, but now, so you're sort of the expert on this because you're the only like professional strongman in the group right now. So go over the records you personally have and the conditions that they were set in and what from your perspective.
Well, I hold the African Deadlift record for under 80 kilogram men's division. How that actually happened, my fourth competition that I've done was South Africa's Strongest Man in 2017, and I equaled the under 80 kilogram record, deadlift record, which was sitting on 260 kgs. Now that's 573 pounds, and that was on my fourth competition. My fifth competition, well, between my fourth competition and my fifth competition, there was an event somewhere in South Africa, that was basically 2017 November. In 2018 February, on the 24th, I competed at Africa's Strongest Man, which was my first Africa's Strongest Man and my fifth competition in strongman overall. And they loaded the bar to a 260. Me and that other guy who actually held the record at that point both pulled a 260. We both went over to 270. I pulled it, he failed. And some of the officials said they don't know what the record was. So they didn't want to give me the record as an official record as of yet. And they just scurried around pretending, no, we still have to find out what the record was and everything. And the guy that held the record actually walked up to me and said, you deserve this more than anyone. And he basically said, you took my record away, and congratulated me. And one of the guys that I train with, he said to the official, okay, cool. Marcus just pulled a new record. We all know that, but because of you guys doing this, he's going to go for a new personal best. And I looked at him shocked. I'm like, what? And he said, yes. And the official asked, okay, what weight are we going to load on the bar? He looked at me, looked at the bar, like, load it 280. And I said, okay, let's do it. And quite shocked with this decision, actually. And yeah, I've never pulled a 280 before in my life, not even in training. And I fought my lungs out for that lift, and I got it locked out and broke the record twice in one day with basically 17.5 kilograms. So I've had that record since 2018 February, so it's now been my third year. Yeah. 2018, 19, 20. Yeah. Basically, almost my whole strongman career, I've held that record so far.
This is a great place to start a career, is on a deadlift record for your entire continent. That's not bad.
No, and it was my first Africa's Strongest Man as well. So
have you broken that record since then, or is it the same lift?
It's the same lift so far. I haven't, in competition, I haven't pulled a or above a 280 again, but in training I have pulled a 300 kilogram, and I've done that 3 times in training. So yeah, there's one other competitor in South Africa who can actually compete against me with that lift, and he comes from powerlifting. His name is John Arthur Pretorius. Amazing athlete, actually. He's flipping strong for his time in strongman. But yeah, like I said, he comes from powerlifting, so he has the technique done, but he has the strength and everything. And he recently posted a video where he did a tap and go 300 for 3 reps. So it's quite impressive. Mm-hmm. But still, for strongman, tap and go is not allowed. So it doesn't count. For strongman, it doesn't count. For powerlifting, yes. It's an amazing attempt that he did, and yeah. But yeah, if we can compete in the same competition, same conditions, and challenge each other out for a max deadlift attempt, it's going to be close.
So let me ask you this.
Yes.
Have you had the opportunity to break your record and been unable to, or you just have not had the opportunity to break your own record in a competition yet?
I have had the opportunity, I think now 3 times. No, 2 or 3 times. The competitor I went up against every time was basically my mindset revolved around him. So it was basically a whole mindset thing. I knew I was stronger than a 280, and every time I competed against him, we would end on a 270 deadlift, and we can't go higher than that. So yeah, I think it's basically just because of the mentality I had towards him. I want to beat him. I don't want to beat the record. I don't want to beat to win the competition. I want to beat him, and that basically was my downfall.
When you get so focused on a single competitor, I think
Yes.
well, you limit your own strength because you're comparing yourself to them.
Now, do you think that helped saving some energy and some effort by not going up another 30 kilograms in overall for the competition, or do you think looking back on it that it wouldn't have had a massive effect?
Well, I did the opening weight. If we went for a max deadlift, I normally opened on a 240 kilograms and then make the jump to a 270 and attempt a 280. And yeah, I haven't been able to do that in competition to actually pull my own record again. But yeah, in a proper competition such as an Arnold or South Africa Strongest Man or in that type of context. But in training, I basically did it 300 before I did Africa's Strongest Man last year. And unfortunately, at Africa's Strongest Man, we had a deadlift medley. So yeah, it was fun. And I actually jumped up a weight division for Africa's Strongest Man last year, and my rival stayed in under 80 kilograms. And that's when I actually saw that I'm enjoying the competition a lot more because I'm not competing with him or against him.
Did you have better, more competition, like more tight competition, like more people to compete against?
I had more people to compete against, better competitors, but we all shared that love of the sport. We gave each other that advice. We congratulated each other. With my previous rival, we basically had this stare down of death every time we saw each other.
It wasn't an antagonistic rivalry. It wasn't.
Yes.
And that's not really what strongman is about. I like strongman. I think has the best like buddy rivalries that there is in the sport. Like,
but if you compete against someone that, because we had the same trainer at some point, and his trainer kept pushing him to beat me, even though we were in different divisions. My weights were heavier than his weights, and in the medleys even, I did my medleys faster than him with heavier weights. And we had a max log event as well that I pressed 115 kilograms and he attempted the 115 and he basically almost killed himself.
So you
almost
beat
broke
him.
His back, so
you beat him most of the time.
Yes. We had a tire flip as well at Africa's Strongest Man last year. He had to do a 250 kilogram tire flip for 8 reps, and I had to do a 320 kilogram for 8 reps, and I did that faster than him. So 70 kilogram difference in a tire, and I did it faster than him. So that basically proved to me that I am stronger than him. I'm there to grow. He's there to just try and
chase you. But that's
now
okay.
He's chasing. Yeah, now he's
that's
chasing.
Okay. Yeah.
And
but you needed to move on. That's cool.
Yes, because I want to grow in the sport. I don't want to stay on the same spot every year. And Africa's basically just proved that for me. Moving up a weight division, and for the final event, I went in for tied at first place, and it was basically whoever wins the stones will win the competition. And we had 120 kilogram Atlas stone, which we had to do 4 reps over a bar, and I went second. The guy that was tied for first place with me went last on the event. The first guy that went couldn't even get the stone up from the ground. I did 6 reps. The third guy got it up to his lap, but dropped it and couldn't get it up again. And the guy I was tied with got 2 reps and couldn't get the stone up again. So at that point, I was actually, my mindset just shifted into competitive mode. When I found out that I'm tied for first place and I have to win the stones, my mind just switched on. And that's when I actually started to be more competitive in the competition that I've been throughout the whole competition. So I went in and gave everything I had for the stones. And I came out, beating my competitor, winning Africa's Strongest Man for the amateur division. So yeah, it's, for me personally, I have grown in the sport so far. There's still a lot to learn, still a lot to do, and still a long way to go to reach my goals, actually, to where I want to go. And yeah, it's taking one competition at a time.
So now we kind of laid that background. Where are you at on the 501?
Does it count, Mark?
No. I won't say, well, I will say that it will count for an unofficial record because, as you've also heard, Brian Shaw, even with Robert Oberst, they also said that there's not that competitive environment where you can break a record against other people competing against you. So if you want a competition, get someone to actually be there to compete against you so that you can have that title. Let's say.
So here's a question about that, because I made that same point and then someone actually got me on it. Rogue record breakers. We all agree they count. No one's disputed them.
Yes.
But there's been at least a dozen where there's only been one person to do the record breaker.
Not just one person to do it, one person invited. Only one person even had the chance to do it on several different events.
Okay. I was gonna ask which events or which event.
The one that comes to mind immediately is when Martins did the squat with the bar that you put across your shoulders.
The front squat. Front squat world record.
And well, it's the barbell that has the giant globes on it, and you start it like vertical, and then you go, and then you flip it, and you do the
Steinborn.
Steinborn.
Yeah, the Steinborn.
Yeah,
that one. But even with that, I'll say yes, it counts. It was a event done at a competition. Everybody saw. Yes, no one else competed against him with the Steinborn, but it was an event that he, I think he and the organizers, spoke beforehand and said, listen, I want to do this. Can I do this at the competition so that it can count? There's official refs, there's fans, there's other competitors to see that happen. And I would say yes.
We're going to have all of those things. We're going to have an official referee, fans watching it, and other competitors. We're going to have all three of those things watching.
Well, what other competitors?
So there's not.
You think the other strongmen aren't going to be watching? Thor.
They're going to be watching,
other people are going to watch.
But they're still going to be watching.
And as far as
not a competition, it's not a competition environment. It's the same.
I agree with that point, but I also think.
Now here's a big thing about in Rogue Records Breakers' favor. So, in a way, it almost doesn't matter because you still get the competition effect where I got to do my lifts on their time schedule. It's not like the three people who went before him were doing the Stein, but he had to wait for someone to do like 2 other records, and then his came up, and he had to do it based off of like in between the competition. So you're still coming out on their time. And
that's not true. The Rogue Record Breakers are notorious for being late because they give certain athletes way more time.
But certain athletes, yes. But also they pick their favorites.
Yeah,
like in the competition as well.
My whole thing is that kind of setting is as close to a sterile competition setting that you can get to. That's the most competition you can get to without it actually being a competition. I think that's kind of what people agree on.
Yeah, but going back to what Brian also said, Brian Shaw, if we open Pandora's box now by letting all the competitors attempt a world
I feel like
record in their garage.
that's a fallacious argument because right now is not normal. It's a
I know it's not normal. I know it's not normal, but it's still, if you open this opportunity for all the strongmen, let's do a world record now. Get an official referee, go to your garage, do a record. All the strongmen, if all the strongmen are going to do that, what's the point of having competitions?
And the other thing I'll add to
you are 100% right. My whole thing is that we can't have competitions right now.
I know.
But the thing is, what I was going to say is that these athletes still want something to do. And it's not like they weren't going to do this in a show. All of these athletes were planning on doing something like this in a show. Well, the first two were. I know Luke Stoltman and Thor were planning on doing each of these lifts in the show, and that show was canceled. And that's a unique situation. Where
even if you look at what Big Z posted now, he posted a picture where he actually commented and said when records was still legal or something like that. And it's a picture where he does a dumbbell press. And I actually love that because it's not directly aimed at anything, but it's directly aimed at everything. So I actually like that post that he did. And even, with Luke Stoltman going for the world record log, in Robert Oberst's video, he said that he spoke to Luke, and Luke said that, yes, he's going to attempt a world record, but it's more for an entertainment situation because he wants people to be entertained, give them something to watch. He's not going to see that as a world record. Well, it's going to count as a world record, but he's not going to see that as a world record. He's going to see it as an entertainment.
That's the perfect way to handle it, though, because how Luke's handling it. Okay, yes, someone else is going to recognize it as a world record. However, himself, he is saving face big time, and I love the Stoltmans, by the way.
Well, the thing about strongman records are, in a way, they're always managed by whoever currently has the record.
In a way, yeah.
Because you have the previous guy say, I accept these conditions, hand off, and then that's how everyone makes it undisputed. So...
That's not true. There's some people who've had their records taken away without a say at all, just because strongmen changed the rules at some point and somebody was able to do more than they were, or in different conditions.
Yeah. Well, the one thing about this, if these records get broken in these conditions, I don't think other events will be broken in these conditions, but I feel like those records, if they're accepted universally, will always be set in those conditions. So the deadlift record, log press record, stone, and dumbbell for reps, that particular one that they're going for, the next person is going to do them in the exact same conditions of the previous person. Right? Or that just feels like what you would say.
No, that's not at all. From this one time, for these 4 events, we can do it on a live stream. It doesn't have to be 5 events. It doesn't have to be an official world record. I actually do not give a shit about that. I don't really. The people who do give a shit about that are the ones who are the problem. Because Eddie is the one who was first like, it's not a world record. Thor wasn't the one coming out and saying, they said, yeah, it's 501, but Thor wasn't like, this is going to be 100% for a fact breaking Eddie's record. World's Ultimate Strongman was just trying to get PR. So I think
Thor was pretty adamant on saying he was breaking that record. As soon as Eddie set the record, Thor immediately
was going to break it. But I think if Eddie hadn't said anything, Thor would have broken this record on the live stream and then broken it again in competition without really too much problem.
I don't think he would have. I don't think he would have. I think
there's the whole.
By the way, I want to state this since you got to save your face, Justin.
Okay.
I like Thor. I think Thor is very capable, and I think he is the strongest human on this planet Earth currently, right now, in in the world, I think Thor's the strongest person. I do believe that. My thing is Thor was always going to say, one, he's beating this record. This is a world record. He's never going to pull it again unless someone pushes him while he still can. So if he pulls it, and then let's say Ron O'Hyla pulls 502, then I think Thor. Who's better?
There's someone that everybody's mislooking.
I know who you're talking about.
Maxine? And I saw a post of this guy actually this morning where he said he's going to start training now for his world record deadlift attempt, which is going to happen at the world deadlift record event. Ivan Makarov is going to attempt a 510 kilogram deadlift at the world record deadlift competition.
Yes, I did forget about him.
Almost pulled 501, but the thing is,
almost pulled a 501.
That was done.
He pulled a 540, 12-inch deadlift, 12 or 16-inch deadlift. And I believe if there's anybody that deserves this attempt for a world record deadlift, it's him.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. If anybody else has the chance to attempt it right now, it should be Ivan Makarov, because he asked to be invited to the World Deadlift Championship last time, and they didn't let him. And so they actually did throw an event specifically to let him get a chance to pull 501. He didn't do it, but he was the only competitor that was given the chance to pull it that day. He's the only competitor that deadlifted that day.
And the fun thing is, I've seen that, and comparing Eddie's lifts for 2016, Eddie started on a 420, 465, 500. Ivan Makarov did a 425, 470, and then tried the 501. So he wanted to beat all the lifts that Eddie did.
Now, here's the problem.
The thing is, he even said that he thought the jump might have been a little bit off.
Yeah.
He said that like that. He said the jump is really, that's another thing I've heard a lot. People say the jump to 501 is super, super important. Like, because you have to pull a heavy ass weight before it, but not too heavy. So where it fries you. It just,
you have to have that balance between your first.
I gotta say, Thor can pull over 400 kilos from multiple reps.
Yes.
Easily. I've never seen a deadlifter able to do something quite like that.
But will he be able to do the 501? That's the question.
That is a really good question.
Something that everybody wants to see. Remember, if you pull on an elephant bar, he has the world record on an elephant bar on 474. Every strongman that has ever pulled on an elephant bar got a PB because it's an easier bar to lift on.
Up until a certain point.
Up until a certain point, but everybody that has gotten PB on an elephant bar, the normal deadlifts are about 20 kilograms below that weight. So if Thor can actually do that on a stiff bar, then well done. I'll recognize it. But as for now, as an official world record, I won't recognize it because it's not a competition setup.
My thing is
that's just my opinion. That's just
the way I see it
about that.
If Thor does pull 501, I will know that he's a better deadlifter and a stronger deadlifter than Eddie, regardless of the circumstance.
But even if he pulls a 501, I think if he gets it actually up and locked out, he's gonna hitch the crap out of the bar.
Oh yeah.
So even with that, I think even if Eddie is gonna see Thor hitching the crap out of the bar just to get it to a lockout, Eddie will still see it as but Eddie will still see I'm the stronger man. I didn't even hitch once during that lift. You're hitching the crap out of that bar just to get it up to prove a point.
And here's another question.
I don't think Thor's going to hitch it.
Have we run into issues with significant digits? This is what I was thinking of before. So when we get up to 500 kilos, right? One additional kilo is 0.2%. So that'd be like if you had a gallon of water, you would add in a quarter of an ounce into a gallon of water. And be like, that's more water.
It's exactly the opposite when you get to super high weights. 1 or 2 pounds can make the difference between you getting it past your sticking point and you getting it locked out. Off the ground, maybe not, but I think 1 or 2 pounds could be the difference.
I just feel like at this point, keep going it by 5.
I think the heavier it is, I think the less 1 or 2 pounds means.
You guys have heavier deadlifts than me, so
I just don't think it matters at that point. You know, what about you?
Because 5 pounds would be 1%. I feel like a percentage it kind of maintains the same, and we're talking at that weight, 5 pounds is like 1%.
And then, okay, so when you pull heavy, Justin, do you feel a difference if you're pulling 390? Okay, let's say you're 390 pounds. You pull 390 pounds, and then you pull 395 pounds.
At the weights I'm pulling, I feel like it has to go up 10 pounds for me to be able to tell the difference.
Okay.
10 pounds, which would be what? 4 kilos at my weight. I feel like I can tell the difference at 4.5 kilos.
So
but anything less than that, it just kind of I wouldn't tell. If you put 5s on both sides, I feel like I maybe could tell. If you put 2.5s on both sides, there's no way. No way I'd be able to tell the difference.
See, I don't feel that because I just recently pulled all the plates in my basement. I made an initial at like 5 something. I made a 10-pound jump there because that's just the plates I have, and it didn't feel any different. And then I made from that I added 20 pounds. At 20 pounds, that's when I was like, oh, now it's heavier.
Yeah,
and that was 550 for a couple singles, but so. That's
your max range is also an extra 30% above mine.
Well, but what I'm saying is that's whenever I felt it. We're talking about heavy-ish deadlifts, and I don't even have that heavy of a deadlift. But at my weights right now, I don't feel it till about 20.
I'm wondering if maybe there needs to be some sort of significant digit, like 1%. Maybe like any lift, not just deadlift. Maybe we need to say if you're going to break it by 1%.
Well, powerlifting has specific rules about how much you break the total by, because you have to break the total world record by at least 20 kilos, I think. And then you have to be an individual record by a certain amount in individual powerlifting federations. I think it depends on, but like
that makes more sense to me.
Generally, you can beat powerlifting records, individual bench, squat, deadlift records by 5 pounds or less, but the powerlifting community generally doesn't accept less than 5 pounds on a.
So, 20...
as an example, Julius Mattis's bench press, when he broke it by like 2 pounds, and people were mad. And when he broke his own record by like 5 pounds, like a couple months later, they're like, oh,
because it hit a significant digit. What everyone viewed it, because here's the thing. I feel like everyone knows that when you get a PR, you probably could have slapped on 5 to 10 pounds.
Yes, we do.
You always feel
either
like
way.
You can. Whether you could have or not, you always feel like you could have.
But where's your on that? Like, what do you feel like a significant digit in deadlift where anything under that can be basically knocked off to rounding error? Like, when you say, like, what is the significant digit where this guy's stronger than that guy? What is the significant digit on the 500 kilogram deadlift where this digit means that guy's stronger than Eddie?
I don't know, actually. I haven't really thought about that way, but thinking about.
What do you think for you personally, though, Mark? Because I wanted to ask you that question. Like, for me, it's a 20-pound jump. That's whenever I'm like, okay, now I've added weight. What is it for you? You have a better deadlift than me. But what do you think is, when do you start feeling it? So you can pull 661 pounds because we're Americans. I apologize. So you can pull that. What do you feel like? At what point do you feel the extra weight? So let's say you pull. You have 600 on the bar.
Well, like I said, that I'm currently working towards a 310 kilogram deadlift, which is a Google 683 pound deadlift, which I'm aiming for, basically. I don't like doing a 5 kilogram jump I don't know. It's just my mindset. I will basically go for a 10 kilogram jump in a PR lift. Then if I can get that, then it's basically for me, it's more satisfying than a 5 kilogram. So I'll work in tens. But the heavier you go, like my max at the moment is a 300 deadlift. If I add 5 kilograms, I know I will pull it easily because it will feel like a 300 deadlift for me. That 5 kilograms means nothing. But adding 5 more to a 310, if I can pull that, it's going to be more satisfying. But feeling the weight difference just from a 300 to a 310 kilogram, it's so heavy. It basically, your mindset, yeah, with your mindset, you can pull that anytime. But the amount of strain your body takes, it's amazing actually just to know that this is 10 kilograms, which is basically nothing to make or break your lift.
Like lifting 10 kilos off the ground is not a problem for any of us.
Yes. But adding that weight to a max deadlift, that's something else. It's like adding the 500, it's putting the 500 deadlift on the ground, adding 1 kilogram. They say, well, there's an old saying that they say the heaviest things in the world is, well, the heaviest thing in the universe is adding 1 pound to your, or adding 1 kilogram to your max deadlift. And in some cases, yes, I think it can be seen that way because in this instant with the 501, it's 1 kilogram above the world record. It is meant to be broken. Records are meant to be broken, fortunately. So, yeah. But with a small margin like that, with 1 kilogram more on your deadlift, it's yeah.
So it sounds like to you, significant digit would be 5 kilograms minimum.
Significant 5 kilograms minimum, but I'm aiming for 10 kilograms per lift. So once I get my, like with me, I'm aiming to go for an X amount of kilograms on my deadlift eventually. And now sitting on a 300, moving to a 310. If I can get a 310, then I'm happy. My next goal is going to be a smaller jump, which is 5 kilograms. And from there again, 5 kilograms. But that's just the way I worked out my program for my phases during my deadlifts. A lot of people, well, especially with powerlifters, they will work on, and I actually work with one of the my friends who does powerlifting. He's going to try and break his own personal best at a competition whenever we can compete again. He's just aiming to break his own personal best by 2 kilograms. For him in powerlifting, that's going to be amazing. For us as strongmen, why break it with 2 kilograms when you can break it with more kilograms? So significant number, I think it depends on person to person and on sport to sport.
Well, I think deadlift suffers from that a lot because I think a lot of people, when a lot of people are first learning deadlift, off the ground is the hardest for most people who first learn deadlift, and up until you get really strong in deadlift, that's most people's sticking point is off the ground. And so I think that's why the small differences can feel so much in the deadlift sometimes and not others. I think it really depends on how far you are in your deadlift progression.
But it's the same as with log press. Let's say, for instance, log press. Doing a 5 kilogram jump on a max log press to a new PB is, yeah, that's going to be a lot different.
It's a big jump.
Yeah,
it is a big for log press. That's a really big jump, and that's also currently what I'm working towards, getting that 5 kilograms more. But anything less than that for me, it's for instance in a competition, if it's allowed to do a, let's say I do a 125 kilogram log press and I want the new PB, and try to do it on a 128.5 or something.
Yeah.
If it's allowed and they have the micro plates there, yes. Otherwise, it's a 5 kg jump. Because that's normally what we do in a competition in South Africa. We unless you specifically ask the organizers, listen, I want the record on this weight. Can you guys organize the microplates for us so that we can do that weight? Then sure, they will organize the microplates for the competition. If not, sorry, you have a 5 kilogram jump at least.
So, and I agree with that. So certain lifts, I think 5 kilos is a big deal, or but one in any lift is just, even log press, 1 kilo.
The only lift that 1 kilogram makes a difference is grip.
Yeah, I was gonna say in actual deadlift without straps would be a different story, because that's what I was thinking. Because I've done my maxes on axle where I've gotten a weight and it felt easy, and then I put on the PR plates of 5 pounds and it's glued to the ground. Like there's no way. I went from this is no problem to I can't budge this over just 5 pounds on an axle bar. But that's grip. I feel like.
I wish I would have pulled a little bit heavier. I pulled on an axle bar for the first time last week. Pulled 255 double overhand.
Yeah, so I feel like definitely significant digit depends on what you're doing. And for me on deadlift, I feel like 10 pounds is significant digit, which is about
10 pounds is 5 kilos.
Yeah, it's a little less.
A little less.
Yeah, but it's round, so like basically 5 kilos. Which, because also it's not just about having the record. So Eddie and Thor have always had issues, even before 2017. And
well, they also was just about publicize a MMA fight that they're going to have after Thor retires from strongman.
Yeah, but even with that MMA fight, I think it's going to be a much more personal fight than it's actually supposed to be.
Oh yeah,
and if this was just about
like each other,
I feel like it's more than just about taking the record. It's about saying that. So Eddie always said, like, to show everyone that he's stronger than Eddie. Not just that he has the deadlift world record, but he's stronger than Eddie ever was. And to me, I can't give him that unless he does like 505. Like, even if he does 501 in an official competition, he has
Thor's
the deadlift world record,
than Eddie
no issue. But if he doesn't pull 505, I can't say that he was stronger at his peak than Eddie. Like, even in competition like 501, when he officially has it, in my head, personally, not officially, not anything else, just in my head, I'm like, I don't know if he was stronger at his peak than he was at his peak. But if he puts,
do you know how many times
they're stronger than Eddie ever was?
Do you know how many times Eddie Hall won Arnold Strongman Classic? Exactly 0.
Yeah.
Eddie also went.
Do you know how many times Eddie won Europe's Strongest Man?
Britain's he won 5 times.
Yes.
Yes, Britain
never won Europe's.
But the thing about Eddie also is when he went to peak in his last 2 years, he went way harder and way more dangerous than anyone else has like ever gone. So instead of trying to do a 4-year peak, he's like, I'm gonna do this in 2 and win or die. And when you hear that like he was taken from his house in an ambulance to the hospital because his heart was going from like 30 beats per minute to 170 beats per minute and back and forth, and you hear the medical issues he was having from then you realize that the reason is his peak was he peaked so fast for a various amount of like things he was doing that that's why it wasn't a long-lived career. He knew that he was peaking for that and then done. And
Eddie
was all of his health.
I'd say in Eddie's time he was the strongest man who ever lived. Or if we take the 500 deadlift in account and we take the amount of work he put in for 2017 World's Strongest Man, the
world record.
The speed that he actually peaked, the speed that he went through to peak for World's Strongest Man, I think
I will say
it's a faster peak than anybody has ever had.
I would say only
it's not
one
sustainable
person,
for years.
I would say only one person in history has ever gone as hard for World's Strongest Man, and that was John Paul Circummerson, and he died deadlifting.
Yeah.
Eddie found that line, was getting blood tested multiple times a week, and trying to skirt as close to the line as possible without dying. Like, it was And yeah, so that's the thing about Eddie is that's why he was such short notice. Like if he could have maintained that peak, yeah, he would have won multiple worlds, Arnold's and stuff like that. But because of how he did it, it wasn't sustainable to win those competitions.
I think that Eddie's peak that we all see him at was like a 3-year period. But I don't think he had anything more than that. Eddie never had the like, I don't know. Eddie was weird. He got injured and dropped out of so many competitions and didn't finish so many others. Like Eddie was finish on the podium or don't finish.
Yeah.
Like, and that's kind of dumb.
Yeah, but if you look at the majority of strongmen, their mindsets, I get an injury and I'll finish the competition no matter what.
Yeah,
I still will win.
That's 100%.
Eddie had the mindset of, okay, I'm feeling a tweak or I pulled something, I'm out. Playing it safe, there's still other competitions to do. With us, well, I'm the same as most strongmen. I actually broke my big toe in the first event at a competition, and that was at my first Africa Strongest Man. I broke my big toe with a log press. I dropped the log on my big toe.
Ouch.
Pulled the Africa Deadlift record as the second event and still won Africa's. At Arnold's last year, I tore my pec minor from a deltoid tendon, and I still competed. That was in the first event on day 2. I still competed at every event during day 2, and I finished second. So my mindset is just, I have to finish the competition. I can't stop now. And it's actually, yes, I'm gonna say it, for strongman, it's the most stupid thing to do. We are really people with the most stupid mindset out there in the sport. in that sense, let's get an injury, continue fighting through. It will get better. That's how we see it. But with someone like Eddie, who has set that goal for, I want to be world's strongest man, I can't afford any major injuries. If I feel a tweak, I'll stop. So for him, yes, he's sacrificing a title, but also he's maintaining he's taking care of his body so that he doesn't lose that chance to take a bigger title.
And that's Eddie's 100% respectable.
And I just did the math real quick, just so we know what we're talking, just so we know the peak. So from Eddie Hall's 500 kilogram deadlift, 2017 World's Strongest Man, axle press world record, 9 months. And if he says if his real peak began a little bit before the deadlift and ended a little bit after the axle, we're looking at about 11 months was the peak that we're talking about here on Eddie.
I was thinking more of when Eddie started breaking deadlift world records back in like 2015. Because that's when he actually initially said he was going to go for 500 kilos. It was 2015.
So when he started his whole peak altogether would be in 2015. So,
and that's when he really started dedicating it. That's when he put on a lot of weight for strongman. He quit his job. He got a bunch of sponsors. He did everything he fucking could.
And basically, he had a 2-year peak, and yeah, he in that 2 years he was basically unbeatable in some events. And yes, World's Strongest Man, 2017, he won it. I believe he won it fair and square. And now the dispute between, but the dispute between Eddie and Thor at the moment, and even Thor saying that Eddie and the officials worked together so that they can change the events so that Eddie could win World's Strongest Man. I think that's quite a low blow.
It absolutely is.
Yeah, and I thought that was bad.
Unprofessional.
But
that's
it's
basically
just
being a bad sportsman.
Eddie did strike first.
Eddie saying, I don't trust those Icelandic.
But
there's a history of that. They have a history of that. Eddie Hall fans are notoriously over the top and kind of annoying and can be really aggressive. And Thor fans can be way overly defensive for no reason.
So here's the problem I have with when Eddie said about not trusting the Icelandics, and it actually what Eddie said didn't really bother me too much, but whenever he said you don't trust the Icelandics, Magnus for Magnuson was the one who disallowed a couple of Thor's Viking presses. Magnus warned him. Where's Magnus from? Notoriously Icelandic.
But when Eddie said that he doesn't trust us, talked about Thor's team, Thor and his team. He didn't mean every Icelandic.
But he didn't say that though. That was the one thing I seen. Like if he wouldn't have done that, I feel like
the impression I got.
Yeah, but he didn't apologize. He did apologize and said that is what I meant.
And
I missed that.
I feel like
he's still generalizing Thor's fans while not admitting that Eddie fans are really fucking toxic.
Well, all right, so in the last post that Eddie made was he was talking about, he clarified and said just Thor's team. Now, another thing I think he was saying, he wasn't necessarily saying that Thor was going to, use undersized weight, whatever, and cheat on the weight side. I think he was thinking more of the vein of if you're not cheating, you're not trying, which is like the Raider slogan. And what that is well, maybe, because we're talking about 1 kilo here, right? Maybe if you use a particular rubber that's compressive, it will give you a little bit easier time off the floor because it's pushing up on the weight. Maybe you can tweak a bunch of very small factors across the deadlift. If you make like 30 things 0.5% easier, that comes out to like a 2% easier lift, and our margin of error on this deadlift is 0.02%. So I feel like he meant more of that they wouldn't just say, oh, we're going to do the record from the home gym, but maybe make it as conducive to lifting as possible, not technically cheating by the word of the thing, but definitely taking advantage of the options available to you to make the 501, which would all be, I think no one thought that it would not be 501, but you can tweak certain, we're talking such small margins here.
Nice.
Yeah, but we're all
even going back
watching it live.
But even going back to not trusting the people, Thor said he doesn't trust the officials that was at World's Strongest Man 2017.
Which was Magnus for Magnus.
Precisely.
He's the head judge.
And he's getting, he had the final say.
Strongest Man.
Yeah, but he had the final say. He had the backup call to say, listen, no, it doesn't count. And now I don't trust the referees, but he's getting Magnus to officiate his deadlift.
and one thing into Thor's favor where that can pause. So English isn't his first language. So I'll give him a little bit of room on that where he could have also been trying to say that
organizers.
I feel like the judges were overly harsh on me in 2017 and I should have won. And I'm using the same judges that were over scrutinized me then to over scrutinize me now. If they were crappy to me then, they'll be crappy to me now. So if I pull this, I pull this because they screwed me out of 2017. So if anyone's going to screw me out of this deadlift, they're there and they're officiating. So if I pull it, I pull it. Which I feel like for more of his tweets and stuff, that's what he was trying to say with that argument. Not that I didn't trust them 3 years ago and I trust them now, but that they're all, yeah.
Well, but I think I know that Magnus will still
falling out after that happened at World's Strongest Man. Magnus and Thor had a falling out, and they really stopped talking after that, and didn't really start talking until recently for this.
But I think also that Magnus won't be too hard. Well, he'll be fair in his.
I think Magnus will be fair as well.
That's the one thing nobody's ever been able to say. Magnus is the most fair referee. In fact, he's very, very fair and a little harsh. But that's expected.
He is.
But that's expected.
But it's like one of the judges here in South Africa as well. We get the lenient judges, and then we get the people that if you do a lift and your one knee isn't locked out like the other one, sorry, lock out your knees so that we can give you the lift. Other refs will say, "Oh no, it's fine. You have the lift." But this particular guy, I'd say if there's anybody that can officiate at World's Strongest Man from South Africa, it's going to be him. That's how strict he is in his officiating. I love that, and I'd rather let him officiate me than other people. And
than the lax refs, yeah.
Yes.
Because you, as a strongman.
But that's how I see Magnus also. Magnus and even Colin Bryce and well, everybody that basically officiates at World Strongest Man level. That's the strictness that they have to have in officiating. Lock out both knees, do this, do that. We have to look at this and this and this before we can give you the lift.
What about the strongman soft knee lockout that's been really, really common in strongman deadlifts lately? Well, yeah. Part of that is because they deadlift on whippy bars, and you kind of like your knees will get destroyed if you don't have those soft knees on whippy bars.
But I believe lockout before it's a legal lift.
And the thing is, I think a lot of them wear long pants specifically for that reason, so it's harder. Because that's actually one thing you do in martial arts. You wear long pants, so it's harder to see your leg position. Yes. It's what they do in jiu-jitsu.
Who was it? It was Heinlein that actually wore long pants. Brian Shaw at one point wore long pants with the type
Rob Kearney was wearing. Rob Kearney was wearing at the elephant deadlifts, and he was wearing his long pants.
Yeah,
and in the video where JF as well. But if you look at the video where Rob Kearney trained with Brian Shaw and did the deadlift at his gym, he was still bendy as hell. Soft knees. That I wouldn't even call that soft knees.
Yeah, but, it was like half a lockout almost. It was bad.
But looking at other competitors as well, some of them. It's like they're scared to have a knee lockout on a deadlift.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it because the heavier they go, the softer the knees are. And I believe if Thor has this 501, if he gets it up and he has soft knees, the question will still be: is it a lockout or not? According to Magnus.
Well, Thor is pretty strict with his lockouts, though. He's one of the few that doesn't tend to have soft knees on his deadlifts.
I haven't watched his knees that closely.
I just mean in a general context. If he has soft knees, will Magnus?
Yeah, I do. I think he would because that's kind of the strongman deadlift. Like, you can't do sumo deadlifts in strongmen, so you get the soft knee lockout.
I feel like it's more about getting your back straight and your hip lock than necessarily your perfect knee lock.
Shoulders.
If your shoulders are locked, your back's locked, your hips locked, and your knees are a little bit soft, I feel like it counts. But whatever Magnuson says, like that's what I'll.
That's what I'm saying. If Magnus gives the lift as a good lift, then
it's a good.
That's how you have to deadlift. If he doesn't give the lift, then sorry, I'll still say. It's not a good lift. I still think Thor is really going to struggle with that lift, and if he can pull it, then well done. If he can't, then it's something that
he has to pull it. If he fells this lift,
oh my god!
Okay, I actually that would be pretty fucking like major. Honestly.
Eddie will smile for that shit-eating grin Eddie has. That will be locked to his face for about 3 weeks. He'll sleep.
No, it will be years
and
years.
And I think the best will be Team Beast. Everybody, you will see people around the world with that grin for about at least 3 months.
You know what's going to be? The picture of Eddie on the swing in the Speedo? That's just gonna go. It's gonna show if Thor fells deadlift. There's gonna be a picture of Thor missing the lockout, and then a picture of Eddie and the budgie smugglers on the swing, just with that big smile on his face underneath it. That's what's gonna happen.
So
I actually want to see that now.
If Thor fails this deadlift, I know at least one of us here right now won't be surprised.
I'll be really surprised. I will be very surprised.
I think the rest of the world's going to be with the rest of us. And what the fuck, Thor? Because him not pulling that would just absolutely blow my mind. In no realm do I feel like he can't pull it.
Now, we were very hyped on the 330 Sayre dumbbell. All of us. No problem. I thought everyone thought 1 is a freebie. He's gonna probably get between 1 and 3.
I said 3. I still
220.
openly admit that he did. He didn't even fucking press it.
So we got overhyped. I'm probably perfectly capable of making that exact same mistake again. So
I did. It really would. It doesn't make sense that Thor can't pull it.
I'm just as sure of Thor's 501 that I was of Mateus's 330. Like I felt equally as confident.
Way more sure about Thor's 501. I'm way more sure about Thor's 501. He has been.
I admit that in the Mateus case, I didn't take the fatigue factor into effect as much as I should have. I didn't realize how tired they were going to be at the end of that kind of show. And honestly, nobody really got injured that bad, which is really impressive for an Arnold.
It is.
Yeah, everyone stayed pretty healthy throughout.
Like nobody really got injured, honestly.
No.
Like
unless you look at Balsak, who actually went in injured.
Shivlyakov.
Shivlyakov
his fucking Achilles, but he still was a piece.
And Balsak was missing a hip.
Yeah,
it happened on the warm-ups.
With Shivlyakov, it happened on warm-ups, and he just basically. I've the utmost respect for that guy. Is an amazing athlete, amazing guy, and to be able to just see what he can do with that injured foot, do the whole competition on one foot and still not place last, that's amazing.
Like, play pretty well and actually do well in like
second and bag over bar. Second in an event.
With one foot.
I really want to see. He doesn't
like
have a lot of years left. I want to see him win Worlds once. I will be rooting for the Russian to win.
I think that's past his time. He's 43 at Arnold.
He's got one last year if his foot heals up, probably. Maybe 2.
I would love to see it as well, but I also understand that Mateus is probably going to fix his deadlift, and once he does that, you're looking at it.
Has been. Like,
but I'm saying once he does it,
430 deadlift at World's Ultimate Strongman last year.
Yeah.
But that was deadlift suit, which is also the elephant bar generally doesn't have a deadlift suit.
So,
but I think if there's anybody that deserves it more than anybody to be crowned as the world's strongest man, I know Kiliskovsky is still young, but coming second, and then first in a bunch of smaller competitions.
But it also might be just like a biological thing. His deadlift.
He had a really, really bad back injury, like right before he really got pro in strongman, and that's limited his deadlift for basically the entire time.
But like I said,
anybody not injured.
Precisely.
No, it was a more serious, like some vertebrae had to be fused together and like rehab over. Like it was a genetic condition that developed into something bad.
Didn't Eddie have like straight up like separated ligaments or something in his foot for a while, like during his peak period?
It was before the log press world record that attempted with the 230 kilograms. He slipped on one of the outside stairs at his house or something. Tore ligaments in his ankle and still that was about 2 weeks or 3 weeks before the World Press Championship, and he still attempted the 230 and almost locked it out.
Yeah.
With his foot basically dangling there. But
yeah.
But I feel like an injury, every strongman perpetually has one injury and then they go to the next. Like you're never 100. This might be the first time anyone's at 100%.
Well, yeah,
we've never just suspended the sport for months, so this will be interesting.
That's what I was gonna say. Like the first actual competition where athletes can be there and compete will be the best competition all year because they will all be fresh and fucking ready to fucking go.
Now, here is one potential slippery slope argument, and one potential argument may be in Thor's favor. The Arnold, Ohio.
Like any of those slippery slope arguments.
But the Arnold, Ohio had almost no fans. So the fans wasn't an element because no one was allowed to go, right?
Yeah.
On some of the record breakers, there was one person being live streamed with a judge, no fans on their time schedule. Because of no fans, they had plenty of time to wait, and each person got to go when they were ready. So they got to go when they wanted to go, when they felt like they were going to go, on a stream with no fans present and no one competing against them. And we all located.
This year, it was different. Every single one of the road record breakers that they did had an online qualifier. Unfortunately, some people were not invited to participate even in lists that they had the records in. Like there was a female who had the world record for one of the records that they were doing at Record Breakers, and she wasn't invited. She was told she would have to submit an online application to break her own record. But this year they allowed actually anybody to submit submissions for any of the records anybody was attempting. Even the stone lift. You could. Nobody did, but you could have.
I'm just saying that, like, if we call Thor's thing, I feel like Brian was 100%. We just need a governing body, because everyone feels like that wasn't past the line, including me. I watched that and felt like nothing was weird, and then this lift feels like it was past the line. So to me, in some gray area, it exists between Thor's lift and then what happened at Arnold, and I don't know how to clarify that line, because I can argue on both sides. This.
What if it is a gym Thor does not own? Even if it's his regular gym, if it's a gym he doesn't own.
Honestly, it's the fact that there's so many things that doesn't feel right. First one is, I love World Ultimate Strongman. They're pumping tons of money in Strongman, doing tons of great things, right? But they've only been here for 2 years. And this feels like a big jump to start saying that these are world records in ways that Giants Live and Arnold has never officiated.
Started with World's Strongest Man?
Yeah.
2009 was when Giants Live was founded.
Yeah, and I'm saying, but that means that they've been here for 11 years now.
Yeah, Arnold has been around longer than that.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is they're so new that it feels weird that they're so new to be like, and this feels kind of iffy in that area.
Well, I'm saying that the strongest men, the people who take over the world's strongest man has traditionally changed every 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
Up until Giants Live, it would change the people who ran it every cycle, kind of what I call them.
But it's that plus cycles. The home gym plus it's just enough individual small things added up to me where I feel like this should be counted as like a gym PR where not enough things added up on road. But in retrospect, now that I'm looking back on the road record breakers at the last Arnold, I feel like because of that,
some people weren't able to even make it to beat their records because of the coronavirus and travel being canceled.
If we 100% agree that the road record breakers at the Arnold, Ohio were completely okay, I don't think you can say that Thor's lift would not be. I think you have to look back at the road record breakers and you have to figure out where your line is, because we clearly don't have one, and everyone in the strongman community, no one looked at those road record breakers and said that those don't count. And we're looking at Thor's and saying it doesn't. So I feel like we missed the line. The line was back in Ohio during the record breaker live stream, and we would just barely crossed it and didn't realize it until we got into deeper water.
Do you think that the live streaming is kind of what led us down this path more? Because I think live streaming made it too easy.
I think the water slowly got hot, and we didn't realize it was hot until it was boiling. And so now we're all like, "Oh, this feels weird," but we didn't realize it crossed the line. So, but the only way to decide
this... Are you calling us all lobsters?
The only way to really to decide this, though, is to have a non-competition governing body of strongmen. So people who aren't running competitions, who are competitors.
I would be 100% behind that, because there's so many different strongmen organizations. It was up until Giants Live, the path to World's Strongest Man was really confusing. It was there was a couple organization. Things
this organization can't do competitions. They can't have vested interest in their own records and own events. So they have to be an organization that does not do competitions, that is just made of guys who people respect. So it has to be like Brian, Big Z, maybe Magnuson should run it.
What would their actual duties be?
It wouldn't be big. It's literally specifying records and major things. Like this is what is considered a record. This is exactly what has to happen, and this is what a log press. Because there's questions that are undecided. What is the log press? Is it the metal log? Is it an unbalanced natural log? Is it a balanced weight natural log? What is the world record road press?
There is an organization that keeps track of world records. And they have specific requirements for all of their world records. Guinness.
But the thing is, all the Guinness strongman records are such. But it needs to be.
Eddie is in the Guinness World Record book with his 500 kilo deadlift.
And so is that vegan strongman.
Yeah.
Well, what I think it needs to be though the people who have had these records. It can't be like it has to be someone who's been there, been at the top, done it, to be able to specify. It needs to be Big Z, it needs to be Max, it needs to be Brian Shaw. You have to have multiple world strongest.
Yeah.
But even in Robert Oberst's video, he spoke about what Brian Shaw said about the making a sanctioned, basically, organization which can make these decisions and everything. That a governing body. If they run the governing body, Robert Oberst said that he will 100% support Brian in that, because even when they went overseas to competitions and everything, all the strongmen asked Brian to talk to the organizers of a competition or people that, well, even with sponsors and so on. Everybody asked Brian to go speak to them because he has the knowledge, he has the way with words to actually talk to the people.
And it doesn't have to be like a big organization. Literally, they're just.
And the thing is, Brian Shaw, when he did the Denny Stone World Record, people tried to bring that up, but no, he has the actual Scottish guy with the book of all the attempts of the Denny Stones ever, and the actual Denny Stones, like, is as official as you possibly could have been for that Denny Stones.
Precisely.
And other people were allowed to do it. Like, he let the other people that were there do it. And I think
but the Denny Stones is not. I feel like that predates Strongman. So
it does. It absolutely does.
Like, same thing with the Hus. Well, I don't know. Is the Husafeld Stone an old thing too?
Yeah, basically, Husafeld is way older than
How old
it's
is
basically
it?
It's from Viking era.
Is it the same stone all these years later?
Yes.
So basically, anything that's like legacy like that should be handled how it's been handled for hundreds of years. But all the newer like strongman stuff, we'll just like so. Yeah, we just need a unified rule set because it's very clear we don't have one, and this is the growing pain. Strongman's getting bigger, and we finally are seriously hitting the growing pains of we don't have a unified rule set body. And
here's my opinion on what should be a strongman record. I think that the strongman deadlift world record should be without a deadlift suit.
But it's been set with a deadlift suit and with figure
eights. I know already. But I'm fine with the figure eights because you can pull weight that way.
I'll say let's keep the raw deadlift on the raw deadlift world record on a elephant bar. And
I can agree with that.
Suited.
So
I think they are. My issue with suited is that it takes a long time to learn, and it takes like a whole different set of skills to learn how to use a deadlift suit versus.
I really like what you
it's basically like doing a car deadlift compared to a normal deadlift.
I really like how you.
But also, if you stay in a suit, work in a suit and try to get used to the suit. Most people believe that you have to start using the suit 3 months prior to the competition that you are actually going to attempt the world or the deadlift event, just to get used to the suit, get one with the suit. And I mean, I pulled my 280 Africa record. I think I was 3 weeks in a suit, and then I still pulled the record. I didn't get used to the suit first, as I was supposed to do. So imagine what I could actually do if I was used to wearing a suit during a deadlift. And it's the same with all the other people doing deadlifts in a suit for a competition, you see so many strongmen. They put on the suit at a certain weight that they want to attempt and move up from that, just to get used to being in the suit and working with the suit to feel how the suit feels on different weights, higher than the warm-up weights, basically. With Thor, he's still struggling to breathe in his own deadlift because he's not used to it. He's only had it for what, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and according to
he's used that same deadlift suit before. It's the same one he's had. I don't think it's a new suit. It's one he's used.
Yeah, but he's not used to pulling in a suit. And
he pulled in a suit.
That bothers him a lot.
He wasn't used to pulling in a suit again, but he's pulled in a suit plenty before. He pulled in a suit for most of his deadlifts for up until they started doing elephant. He was pulling in a suit. Up until they started doing elephant bar, he stopped pulling in a suit, but he's gotten stronger since then.
He's gotten stronger, I agree with that, but he's still complaining that he can't breathe in his suit, and the higher he goes, the less air he has in his body.
Yeah, and Eddie Eddie lived in his suit pretty much.
Yes.
Like Eddie I think Eddie slept in his suit sometimes.
I like keeping the deadlift suited, strapped, and then the elephant bar so the elephant bar becomes the standard in strongman for the raw deadlift, and then the standard deadlift comes suited. But see, that's what that would be something that would be a prime case of that organization specifying this is now the elephant raw deadlift. This is like the crown for raw. Then this is that, and then it's just literally them getting together and just taking like about 40, 50 of the top strongman events and just putting a rule set.
Yeah,
I agree.
My issue with that is that might limit. I argued this in the chat. It might limit the number of different events that people choose for strongman contests. Like, let's say that this governing body of strongmen comes out with 50 records in 50 events with specific rules. Then I think that all strongman events from now on will be those 50 events and nothing else.
They could create more. That's why it'd be an ongoing committee.
Yeah,
if someone wants to do a new event, they'd be like, hey, we want to do an oven hoist. Give us the rules for the here's our proposed rules for this new oven hoist thing. It would go to them, and then they would validate it.
But I think that if a competition in that sense will be held, I don't think everybody will just have the record events in the competition. There's still going to be a truck pull. Still going to be a yoke carry. There's still going to be this and that and that. I think they will play
less
fair.
About the
maybe do
for
one
me,
or
it's
two
less about the variety of the events, and it's more about the specific rules of every single event.
Well, and also this only really matters at the highest level.
Yeah, and
it really only matters for Arnold, World Ultimate Strongman, and Giants Live.
You can't have all the events as record events.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what it comes down to.
And I think if you have the right people at the top, so you have Big Z, you have Shaw, you have Magnus for Magnus.
Shaw has to retire first. I feel like anyone who's on this.
Yeah, it needs to be fully retired. They can't be doing Masters.
Fully, because that would screw over the Masters.
Big Z isn't fully retired either.
So you could basically would be limited to the Masters division, which is like the retirement division.
It is.
And then you could put the rules set forward for the non-retirement division.
And that's actually a good idea. I mean, that would be okay. And I think if it's the right guys, those three guys are gonna want the good strongman. They're gonna want the events to be exciting. They're not gonna want,
all they have to do is meet once a year. Just get them all in a room once a year, maybe for 2 days. And then that's all it would take.
I think someone that you can actually Brian Shaw is Ode.
Absolutely.
Ode Hagen.
My thing is, though, Justin just mentioned that you could submit new lifts to be approved by the board, but if they only meet once a year, you only get once a year that a lift would be approved. Most
you can retroactively approve it. You could even retroactively approve it. So let's say you want to do something at Giants Live Europe, right? And it's a new lift and a new variation. You come up with your rule set, you do it, and then that rule set gets reviewed by them, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll lock it in like this."
What if they say no?
Then it would be an unofficial record.
Yeah, but
what
what
I
if
don't
it
see
was?
why they would say no.
But
Because
this isn't about. This isn't. I'm not talking about records. I'm talking about when you say that the strongman log has to be a metal log with these dimensions. Then I think that makes all logs. People want to make all logs
just for
that
the
dimension.
record, because we're not. I don't think the record should be reviewed as like rep records or anything like that, right? So unless you're like a Giants Live or an Arnold, and you want to say that, hey, we're gonna probably have someone set the log press world record, then your log press that time would conform to the log press world record standards. If you're doing a particular weight and then just reps on it, you wouldn't need to do it strict by the rules of this is the official log and setting and what qualifies the record. Because all these medleys, these for rep events, none of those would need to be verified because those aren't record events.
What about medleys that have records for time? The Atlas stones have a record for the most stone specific.
Yeah, so if you're doing this
under a certain time, and then World's Ultimate Strongman is like, oh, this is 10 stones. But the thing is, the weight has increased on Atlas stones over time as the competitors have gotten stronger. The heaviest Atlas stone in like 2004 was like 340 pounds.
Which is why they may not have one for stone medley. They might just say this is stone over bar, stone over platform, stone to shoulder, stone press, Atlas stone. These are the qualifications for the world records. And then your medley's your medley. Your medley is who wins that event. Goes on to, potentially win the competition. Because most of the records.
What's the purpose of a organization that only does world records?
To manage world records.
But there's already people who do that.
Not in strongman.
Not in strongman.
Strongman, but who's paying for that? Who's going to pay these guys to do this?
No one would even have to pay. If we're talking about like.
Okay, then you message these guys and tell them that you have this idea and try and get them on with it.
Well, I mean,
you're not going to be able to.
They would always.
They have other things to do, is what I'm saying.
I feel like they would. If we're talking about taking 2 days a year to solidify strongman and to get a really unified rule set.
2 days a year, but you don't.
Well, the NFL rules committee. The NFL rules committee meets for 1 week.
And
they're terrible at their job. The NFL rules committee.
But they only meet for 1 week.
Yeah, and the thing is, the NFL it's one of the most complicated sports. Period. You have everyone playing a different position doing. That's what I'm saying. Like in strongman, it's way more simple.
What is it? We have way more events. We have like a million different events that you can do.
No, but when you're trying to find what it counts as leading with the helmet and what doesn't, depending on particular situations, and you have like 100 pages specifying, because it's so vague, like a lift is a lift. We're just talking about the equipment and the circumstances mostly has to be done under. They're not going to be like the log has to be aluminum, titanium.
What defines a lockout? What defines a lockout?
They could Magus when Magnuson, he knows how to define a lockout. I'm pretty sure he could write it down in 2 pages.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about people like Nick Best who can't extend their arms fully?
Then if it counts in competition, he'd be able to define what counts in competition.
Yeah, but then you would have to add a specific clause for people who are physically unable to lock out their elbows.
I don't think.
I'm sure Magus Magnuson, if he can figure out how to judge it in competition, he can figure out how to write it down.
Yeah, but I think if someone like Nick Best if someone like Best comes along, everybody knows about that situation. And if it's proved that he can't lock out, then look for his lockout point where he can lock out and work on that. If someone else comes along and said, no, my lockout is there, press to there. No, do a lockout.
But he still lost reps before in competitions because the judge said he wasn't locked out. And my thing is that you guys are all assuming that these people are going to want to do this work. This is a lot of work.
I feel like it's gotten to the point.
He said he wanted to do it.
Yeah,
he has said it out loud.
Not what he said. Not what I heard him say.
I will clip it.
He said that there should be a governing body.
Brian Shaw said, after I retire, I would gladly take this on. I think was his exact words. Am I right?
I didn't actually get that.
And so, and the thing about
literally said he would do it.
And we're only talking about. See, I don't think this is really going to matter for records that no one really cares about, because I don't think anyone's going to dispute who has the fastest time on 10 stones to platform on weights that probably are only never going to be used again in another competition and set up the exact same way.
Until the Ultimate Strongman does it again.
Now, if they do it and they keep doing it the same way every single year with the same weights, the same amount of stones, then it would be entered in, and they look at it and that would be considered. If something becomes a staple, they add it as a staple.
How long does it take for something to be approved? Because you just said that it would take a year and it could be proved counteractively, and then you just said that it would take. You'd have to have.
I don't think you
established.
Yeah, you'd have to have an established event. I don't think there'd be a reason to create a record for every little thing anyone does. You create
an established event, you create the established rules, you set the rules exactly how you want to, and then
if other organizations want to come. So, for example, if I create an event, right, and I manage it and it stays in my competition, they don't matter because this never leaves my competition. So if the Arnold wants to do World's Ultimate Strongman 10-stone medley for time, they would look at how World's Ultimate Strongman does it, talk to their people, get the rule set officiated, then that would be the same rule set that they would use at the Arnold. So if something becomes a staple,
the rule set was World's Ultimate Strongman, not the committee that you guys are talking about.
Well, the committee would then take those rules and say these are. But the thing is, we're not really worried about those cases. We're literally most of this is going to come down to probably
live stream events during a pandemic that has only happened once.
No, but that lift's happened. Lots of people have gone for the deadlift world record.
Yeah, and we have established that it's calibrated plates with a calibrated bar with a deadlift suit and straps.
And all previous records have been set at competition.
Yeah.
So we're changing that big variable.
That variable is not a variable.
And so this would be this.
Okay, but
and I admit Strongman is. But you guys are.
Now this is
a unique instance that doesn't need a governing body for, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, no, because here's where it could help. So let's say they get together and some other thing that we'd never thought about happens, right? Then they could say, yeah, no, this counts. Or yeah, no, it doesn't count.
See, that's the big thing. That's one of the biggest things I think a governing body could do in this situation. That body could be like, okay, we're going to allow it due to circumstances. Now there is no controversy. That means even if that was existing right now, Eddie Hall can say, everybody would just it. But that governing body is going to be like, but we, the guys who decide this, or girls, the humans who decide this, we say it does. And at that point in time, it's like,
and that's why it's made up of the champions of yesteryear. Because they're the only ones who have that power.
Demand enough respect to do that. Because if Brian Shaw, Big Z, and Magnus for Magnus are like, hey, the three of them get together and they're like, hey, this counts. Guess what? The rest of the strongman world is going to be like, whatever you say.
What happens 10 years from now when people have they've fallen out of the limelight?
No, you always bring in fresh people. You add maybe one person every
Thor.
2 years.
Probably.
Or you probably have Alexei Novikov.
Now you guys are assuming other people want to do it. Brian Shaw is the only one who says he wanted to do it. Now you guys are just assuming other people would.
The Hall of Fame of Strongman in a way.
But they have a Hall of Fame for Strongman.
So
they actually have a Strongman Hall of Fame that they established. They could use that to establish world record.
I also think that if this didn't come up in a conversation between Brian and someone else before, he wouldn't have mentioned it in his video.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Brian Shaw already has.
You didn't see Robert's video. Robert said they had been talking about this. Where him and some other strongman before this. So we're talking, I guess other things have happened. This isn't the first one.
No, it isn't.
And that Robert was talking to Brian and other people were talking to Brian and being like, hey, him and Big Z being like, there needs to be an official strongman body to govern things. And then this is just what re-energized it, because another thing is I'm assuming like we know Thor's fine with it, right? Because the other thing is if right now of like the best guys, if half of them or more said that this counts, then I would honestly change my opinion and say it counts.
Most people do, absolutely.
So we've only heard from like 4
we
people.
Are going by public opinion. Why don't we just continue to go by public opinion?
Oh no, not public opinion. I'm going by like
there's pro strongmen that said that they don't see this as a world record.
People's opinion.
Basically, if Brian Shaw would have came out and said, "I'm going to count this as a world record," no matter what Eddie Hall said, I'd be like, "Okay."
Okay,
Mr. Shaw.
As well,
but the thing is, Brian Shaw would have never done that. Brian Shaw has always maintained that records need to be done out of competition.
Which is why
Brian Shaw has never ever changed his mind about that.
And that's why he would be amazing at this and that governing body thing.
Yeah, and the governing body, if he got outvoted, so let's say it's him, Big Z, and we're just bringing up these because it's easy to keep it to 3. So Big Z, and then Big Z and them outvoted Brian. Magnus Magnuson outvoted Brian 2-1. That it counted, then it would count. So the committee would be always an uneven number, and they would just vote on things like this. And then whatever the thing is, what everyone would accept because they're like the guys.
And the same with Magnus Magnuson or Big Z. If Big Z would have came out and be like, "I'm going to count this," Magnus Magnuson is like, "I'll count it." And
okay, let me ask you a question.
No, I would still.
Let me ask you guys a question. A governing body for strongman exists. Before all of this happens, a global pandemic comes around, and Thor's like, "Hey, I really want to attempt a 500 kilo deadlift. That's what I've been training for a while. It's what I want to train. I want to do a heavy deadlift." And the governing body's like, "We're not going to sanction a deadlift because you can't do it in a competition."
I'd say if they say that, then let him still attempt to.
Let him do it.
But no, he wouldn't though. He would absolutely not do it. He would absolutely not do it. Nobody would.
Give the people something to something to watch. Be entertained. Or give them entertainment.
Why would Thor
money?
But he's not. They're not offering the money for this one.
Thor isn't not getting paid. I mean, Thor's making money from this some way. Whether World's Ultimate Strongman is paying the whatever.
Well, they're paying the athletes, but they're not. Thor isn't getting the $100,000 bounty for the deadlift.
He's going to get so much money from everyone in the entire sports strength world is looking at what's going on right now.
Successfully pulls it.
If he successfully pulls it, he will make way more than 100,000 additional sponsorships.
Okay, if there was a governing
he's gonna probably make 6 figures.
Yeah, I'll say even if he doesn't pull it, just the publicity alone, he'll probably make 150, 200,000 in sponsorships.
He's gonna get paid. I mean,
Thor doesn't not make a ton of money off of this, and no matter how it plays out, everyone involved, even Eddie probably gets more money because he's been back in the limelight.
Eddie is making money off of this because the Eddie deadlift videos are trending on YouTube.
And he's probably going to get sponsorships even paid up because right now they're the biggest thing trending in strength sports. That being said, no matter how this plays out, as long as it doesn't completely destroy it's been good for strongman for the publicity alone. Way more eyes, way more attention. Everyone involved because of this is a net positive pretty much however it pays out. I feel like it should be unofficial, but I really don't feel like my opinion has any weight whatsoever. I feel like, I really don't, because I've only been doing it for a year and a half. I haven't won world records. I haven't won world's strongest man. It's really the guys, the top guys ever. It's really their sport and up to them to define it.
And they have said clearly that they don't count it. So to me, that's just how it's going to be. But I also think that if Thor before this was like, "Hey, are you guys going to count this or not?" and people were kind of dicks about it, like they are right now, he wouldn't have attempted it.
Let's put it this way. Eddie,
he would have because he's still counting it.
Now here's a question. Why was Eddie always saying it had to be done in competition before this? So before the pandemic, I heard in 5 or 6 different cases where Eddie specified that it needed to be done in competition. Was there someone else besides Thor trying to set up a way to do it not competition?
Yeah,
Ivan Makarov did it by himself, and Eddie wouldn't have counted that one either.
Yeah, but even Ivan wouldn't have counted it unless it was in an official competition.
Yeah.
But you can
My
still
whole thing is that
no,
it
but
doesn't
you can still
really.
break a world record or any record at home or in a gym, and it won't count. It will be a unofficial world record or record. But if you do it in a competition set up with official referees and someone that can actually recognize it as being a record, then go for it. Then it will count as a record. That's how I see it. And I think that's how a lot of strongmen actually see it.
And they do. That's how pretty much they all agree.
We have here in South Africa. I actually had a opportunity to attempt a axle press record for Africa record a few years ago, but they told us to be able to do this outside of a competition, and for it to count, I have to pay an X amount of money to attempt the record. It has to be recorded to be sent into the African Strongman Union for recognition. And if they accept it, and also it has to be officiated by someone who is qualified to officiate it. And if they accept the video and the record, then I can get a record. But also, if you only get the one chance, you don't get the whole day to try until you get it.
Mm-hmm.
You get the one chance, one video, that's it. If that's the case for, let's say, a world record at the moment, then maybe, I don't know.
Well, Iron Mind, when they do the certifications for the Captain to Crush, you need one judge, and there are very, very specific circumstances as to what you can do, exactly how you can set it, exactly what you can have on your hands and everything. All of that stuff is very, very controlled, but there's only one judge. And the thing about strongman is we all want to agree that it's a competition setting that it needs to be done. And that's, I think, really the most contentious part of this. And I think what annoys me the most is just that we can't have any competitions right now.
It annoys everybody. But
I think that all these records we wouldn't even have this conversation if this shit wasn't going on. And I think that I don't really care if it's a world record, even if Thor does, because I don't know. To me, because I've been following Thor for longer than I knew about Eddie, I've been following his journey. I have more invested, I feel like, in Thor pulling 500 than I had in Eddie pulling 500. So I'm more personally invested in it, regardless of the world record, because I've been following Thor for a while now. And I've been following him on Instagram and social media and stuff. And it's been fun to see his progression and to see how much stronger he's gotten over the years. And I didn't really have that dog in the fight with Eddie. I didn't really care about, because by the time I found out about the 500 kilo deadlift, it had already been done.
And to that point, there is no governing body, so there is no one to say it doesn't count. I feel like the whole thing is we kind of need a governing body for weird circumstances, but so I don't think until there is some, you can't say it does or doesn't. I think Thor is justified in saying it does, and Eddie's justified in saying it doesn't.
Well, I think, for powerlifting, it's going to be the world's ultimate strongman deadlift world record versus the Giants Live deadlift world record. And I think that's bad. I do agree that that's not good for the sport to have different, records in different federations, because different federations who don't work together aren't really good for any sport.
And strongman has a weird problem that most sports don't. Well, that a lot of sports don't have. Most sports start with some sort of rule set and some sort of thing, right? Strongman, its origins were people showing off in pubs, people doing stuff in circuses.
World's Strongest Man 1977 had it was random.
Yeah, we started out of pure chaos and we're slowly moving to an organized rules. So I feel like because of the growth where it's at, this was the tipping point to be more clinical than we have previously. Because Big Z, has set the log press with a world record 3 times with 3 entirely different logs.
Yeah,
basically. Which was fine for back then, but I feel like now we're moving in and it's time to take the next step.
Now the people want specific.
Well, Brian talked about it. Sorry. Brian talked about it in his video about Benny Magnuson broke the deadlift world record for strongman in a deadlift suit with calibrated bar, calibrated plates. When Brian had it before that from a strongman Iron Mind like axle record. Like Brian pulled the world deadlift record on that fucking huge ass bar that they use in World's Strongest Man.
Yeah.
And if they there's actually so many world deadlift records on different types of bars. But it's like everybody just took all of that bars records and just shoved it to one side, and we only care about this one and that one.
Mm-hmm. And
so
that's
the other
not
bars
fair.
doesn't count anymore.
Well, the other bars don't count because they're lighter. The reason we count the deadlift is the deadlift bar with because that's the one you can pull the most weight in. That's the reason why this one's the most important of all the deadlift ones, is because in a suit, traditional deadlift bar with straps is about the most you can possibly pull, which is, and in strongman, literally it's called strongman. This is the lift and the most you can pull and the most you can pull about. That's why this record above all is the most sacred.
Frame deadlift record is over 500 kilos.
But a frame is feels like it's such a big different thing.
A frame is a lot easier actually.
It is, but
you're also pulling it from like 18 inches.
Easy.
Not always. Frames are usually a little lower than that, but
I mean, I'm saying that's a completely different implement because you do a frame carry, you can do a frame deadlift,
but it's still a deadlift, and I think that the calibrated bar and calibrated plates was the wrong direction to go, because that's not really quintessential strongman. It's
also easier than making it the Hummer tires, because then everyone has to get Hummer tires shipped across the entire planet.
Not everybody's Brian Shaw. Not everybody can be Brian Shaw and buy the exact setup that you're going to use in the competition. Is Cody alive? His thing has been frozen.
His thing's breaking up. You can see by his face that he's getting frustrated with it on the freeze frame.
Yeah. I thought that was his just expression.
But I guess to move forward. So the stone record, I literally do not have. Maybe it's hypocritical, but I don't feel like I have a problem with it.
Most people don't care.
Because it's 1 pound above the record. He broke that record so easy. And now he's just doing 1 pound. So less than half a kilo up on his previous record.
Yeah, but maybe that's the heaviest stone he has.
So it's very no. This is World Ultimate Strongman. They're also wanting to have every record under their banner. So they wanted him to go from 660. I almost can guarantee it to 661, just so they have the stone, the Atlas stone. Then they have the deadlift. Yeah,
but they
have the log, and then they have the circus dumbbell, and it's all under WUS's banner right now, where no one else can do anything, and they can buy all the records.
Yeah, but they also they're giving the stream for free. They're paying the athlete. They're paying the referee. They're paying the announcer.
Anyway, it's good for marketing. Very clearly, this is good for marketing. I'm just saying, but let's view that it definitely is a lot of marketing decision going into this. And someone who's done a lot in marketing, I can see the marketing all over this.
If Eddie wanted them to not be successful, he shouldn't have said shit. They're gonna be more successful now that Eddie said shit and it became this huge big thing.
But so is everybody. I feel like this is going to resolve in a way that everyone eventually is going to agree on it, because I feel like if he does pull it, half people count it, half people don't, and then Thor himself doesn't and people argue that he can't say he has the deadlift world record after getting 501. I feel like he will try to go for 505. That or may not matter, because who knows, 6 months someone else might pull 505 and all of this is irrelevant.
But
I truly believe that he can actually do the 510 when the time is right. Even Makarov is, I believe, one of the strongest people currently in the deadlift.
No, absolutely. Actually, if he just put on some more weight, he could probably do it. Because he pulled 500 at 330. And he almost got it.
He did a 540 from a 16-inch.
At that same weight, right before he did the 501.
Yeah.
And he said that he had the energy he had the ability to pull 501 that day. He just the energy and the timing is really, really important.
Oh, he's clear. He's back.
Yay!
So,
he's alive.
But I do have to go to bed soon.
There we go. All right. Now it was funny because as it was messing up, it was just taking freeze frames of your face looking very pissed off.
I was rather pissed off.
It was just like different pissed off faces coming in every 30 seconds.
Yeah, we should. As a wrap up, we really don't disagree on anything. It's just that this is kind of a weird situation. I don't feel the need for I don't feel the need for strongman governing body the way you guys are mentioning it.
Or was he saying that he doesn't think Thor's going to pull it and everyone else thinks Thor is going to pull it?
Yes.
Yeah, that too.
No, I think Thor's going to pull it.
Mm-hmm.
Mark thinks differently. No, it's
Now that being said, if he doesn't pull it, you get like a full couple days on the Discord of "I told you so."
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Because you are the lone person.
You are in the minority
on the poll.
Okay, but if he pulls it, then I have to apologize to you guys.
No, just apologize to him in a tweet.
Eddie did an Instagram poll. Do you think Thor can pull 501? And got like 89% yes.
Oh, you got one other person who joined you today, and I don't think Thor's going to pull it. So our poll right now is 18-2. Actually, 19-2. 19-2 in the favor of him pulling it.
There it is. Okay. I'm interested in that. There really are. Man.
And then our poll keeps going up, and like the community is really split. This is gonna be either way. It's gonna be fun. I can't wait to watch all these lifts. I just hope that I hope Thor and Brian talk and figure and work everything out, and then we don't have any kind of yeah. Anything else you want to add?
I think that any bad blood between Thor and Eddie will be bad for strongman in the long run.
People love drama.
Definitely.
Oberst and Eddie helped a lot. But they sort of faked it. I feel like there might be some a lot more realness between Thor and Eddie, but I feel like Oberst would literally go up on stage and be like, "Everyone from Britain is weak as shit."
Yeah.
Those two were just putting on a show. They were
just talk trash no matter where he is or what he's doing.
He tried to be. He wanted to be the Hill and make everyone in Britain hate him, and he was being the Hill to Eddie's hero for the people in Britain.
Yeah, and that was all just them hyping it up, and that's kind of very.
So as long as this doesn't end super sour, I feel like it is good.
Yeah.
Oh no, this is gonna end. This is gonna be bad. If they do,
it's gonna end bad. Well,
if they do,
it will end in the fight between the two.
They both play Call of Duty religiously now, right? Thor, when he's not.
Thor's actually almost always done it. Almost all the strongmen are gamers.
And Eddie also plays Call of Duty. So let's they need to work this out over some COD, just deathmatch. Just.
I think if they have the fight and it's over, then this whole story will be over as well.
Yeah,
honestly, I think they're both
such a personal fight. There's so many personal issues between the two. It's gonna be a legit fight. It's not just gonna be a MMA or boxing match.
No, especially
if
take you down.
I really hope they make it so you can't punch to the face or head. Because I'm not. They're so strong, way stronger than any other boxers.
Yeah.
Either one of them, one hit to the head could kill each other. So they have to have a very set rule so they don't die.
They're not used to punching.
No, but you train them to do one punch.
Eddie is a bit more used to punching. He has actually been training boxing for cardio.
But Thor's actually always trained boxing. Thor trained boxing before not before he trained strongman, but Thor trained boxing several times.
Yeah, so they would both murder each other.
No, really strong people, they can't actually punch as hard as their fist can take.
That's what the gloves are for. Even weaker people. The gloves are there to protect your hands from their head, not their head from your hand.
But here's the thing: gloves actually impart more concussive force, and
you can hit harder and not hurt your hand.
No, it actually disperses the impact. It makes the impact less direct, and that actually is what causes the concussive force. Boxing gloves are more dangerous than bare knuckles. But here's the thing: guys that big, whenever they fight, anytime strongmen go into boxing, they're slow.
I want to see the grappling, because last time Paul grappled, he tore a bicep off his arm. And that was him just like falling on the ground.
Yeah, this dude is lawless. His first MMA fight, like
they both go down. And it takes them 2.5 minutes to get back up off the ground. Just flopping around.
It's gonna be the longest fight in history.
They like 10 people have to come and pull him up.
But here's the thing: Thor has the reach advantage, and that's gonna I think that's
Neither
gonna
of them
win
wants
him.
to go to the floor.
No, neither. It's gonna be a boxing match. I don't think it's gonna be a grappling match because nobody wants to see that. I do want to see more strongman sumo, though.
You've had people grappling each other.
I want to hear
more strongman.
Martins is very in the center, which is why he said nothing whatsoever, like at all.
I don't think Martins gives a fuck.
No,
I don't think he is as far in the center as.
Well,
he's the reigning world's strongest man.
Yeah, but Martins doesn't care about stuff like that.
And he's the longest reigning world's strongest man with only winning one world's strongest man.
Yeah. Oh God.
See, he's been world's strongest man longer than anyone else who's only one world's strongest man.
That's a big achievement.
You have to win two to be world's strongest man longer than Martins.
So there's an interesting statistic. I won't tell you the exact numbers. You're actually far more likely to win World's Strongest Man once or multiple times than twice. There's like the amount of people who've won it twice is so like low, and there's another one.
Oh, and the guy that wins World's Strongest Man this year is going to be it for like 6 months.
Yeah.
It's the shortest reign in strongman history then.
Yeah.
As
Whoever was it next.
In all of World's Strongest Man history, only like 4 people who have placed on the podium have not eventually won.
Yeah. Kiliskowski is one of them.
Kiliskowski, Terry Hollins.
Terry
Hollins never placed on the podium.
No.
Never got a top 3?
Fourth was the best place.
Fourth place at the highest.
Fourth place was his highest.
Laws
never placed top 3.
Kiliskowski hasn't won one yet, and he's placed in the top 3.
Yeah, but he's one of the few. Yeah, he's one of the few because he's placed top on the podium twice.
He got like a third, a second, or something.
Konstantin Janashia is another one because he placed, I think, 3rd one year. No, he placed 4th. I think his first year, and then
I haven't heard much out of him in the last year or so.
He tore his tricep in 2018.
18.
Yeah.
With the dumbbell press.
Yeah. He's strong as fuck though, and he tore all the calluses off his hand in 2019 in the farmer's carry, in the frame carry, I think actually. That was gnarly.
Yeah.
All the calluses were just gone, like flaps of skin all the way across.
Ow.
Yeah. He still crushed it, but other than that, there's been only really a couple. Like usually, if somebody places on the podium, they drop off in the next year. And actually, I don't think anybody has placed on the podium more than once besides Mateus, who hasn't eventually.
So, I think we've been going on for about 2 hours, 15 minutes. Yeah. I think we should let's go ahead and wrap up.
We didn't even talk about the other events and all the other.
No, we did.
I feel like all the other events
we touched
under the same scrutiny.
Yeah,
but they're also not as quintessential as the deadlift world record. That is the record in strongman to have.
But also if we think about let's go back to the log press record. I don't know if you guys saw the post from Iron Baby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He rated 233 kilogram, and even he said he's not going to do. Well, he basically said he's not going to do what the other guys are doing. He's going to wait and break the record in a competition.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I believe, yes, he has pulled an unofficial world record, but he's still going to wait for a competition to break the official record.
Which
So-
will be good.
Because
then-
I think he's the person who has the best chance of breaking it. Even if Luke breaks it right now, Iron Baby is going
We'll
to
take
break
it back.
later.
But I
Well, I
think
think
that's
that's the whole thing why people don't really care about the log press as much, because
Well, and it's a month after. Like,
Yeah.
they're not all the same day. That one we'll probably be talking about 2 weeks, 3 weeks after the deadlift. Because they have them staggered, 3 weeks apart each of them or something like that?
But I saw that with the stone, Tom is doing the stone record, and Ryan Lovelace is also doing the stone record.
yes, the under 64 kilo women's stone record.
Yes.
Well,
That'll be good then.
And then Alexei Novikov, giant dumbbell for reps.
Geez, so why? Why for reps?
that seems so
Yeah.
weird.
Max attempt.
Because he can't break the actual straight up record.
And do you think Mateus said no? Because there's
No,
no
I
way they
think
didn't call
that-
Mateus. There's no way Ultimate Strongman, because he's the reigning World Ultimate Strongman winner. There's no
Yeah,
way they
here's
didn't
the
reach out to
thing.
him and call and be like, hey, you know that sear that you didn't get to pick up in the Arnold? What if we just
Do it
mail you
now.
when you pick it up at home? And he's
Yeah,
like,
you can't really mail stuff right now.
but
We'll make one for you in Poland.
and he had to pass on it, and
he
then
has a 331.
and they went to him. They're like, so what about you doing the 330? He's like, nah, lower weight for reps. Take it or leave it.
All right, guys.
right, we'll
I
wrap
really
up.
do. I gotta get off.
All right, this has been a good
Okay.
one. We'll wrap it up
Yeah.
there.
It's been a
All
long.
right, thank you all for listening. If you listened for this long, thanks for hearing our opinions. Peace out, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.